The chill of the winter air sliced through me as I stood in front of the house I once called home, the weight of memories pressing down like a leaden shroud. How strange life has turned, I thought, glancing up at the peeling paint and sagging roof. It felt like a horror story waiting to be told, and I was both the writer and the unwitting protagonist. Years ago, I had fled this place with nothing but dreams of uncovering the unseen. I had been the family's laughingstock, a delusional fool chasing shadows. I was the girl who dared to chase ghostly whispers and cryptic signals through the static of the universe. My obsession with cryptophonic anomaly investigation had been met with scorn. They had told me I was losing my mind, dragging our family name through the dirt, tarnishing our reputation with my fantasies. Their laughter echoed in my memory, a chorus of derision that I would never forget. But the joke was on them now. I had ventured into depths of the unknown, peeling back layers of reality that no one dared touch. I had faced horrors and survived. I had emerged from that darkness not just intact, but transformed, an authority on the very things my family dismissed as figments of a fevered imagination. Now I was known, not as a mockery, but as a warning. The world was beginning to take me seriously, and I was returning to where it all began, ready to face those who had once so viciously belittled me. "Delia, you're not really going to bring that nonsense back home, are you?" my mother had said in her clipped tone when I called to inform her of my visit. But I was resolute. This time, I would make them see. As I stepped through the threshold, I felt the familiar tingle of nostalgia mingled with dread. The living room was the same old furniture, dust and photos, memories preserved like specimens in a grotesque museum. My parents' eyes widened with disbelief at my presence, a mix of surprise and that same old scorn reflected back at me. "Delia?" My father squinted as if I were a mirage in the haze of his bourbon-laden brain. "What are you doing here?" "I've come to show you something," I replied, barely suppressing the tremor in my voice. Their laughter had once filled this house, and in its wake, an emptiness had settled in. I had spent years collecting the fragmented whispers of the world around us, voices caught in the static of radio signals, remnants of lost souls, and warnings from beyond. They had become a symphony of dread and enlightenment. I was certain that whatever I would reveal would open their eyes, or perhaps shatter their world entirely. I retrieved my equipment from the trunk of my car, a sleek device that hummed with electrical energy. The initial murmurs of my findings were mere whispers, but now they had grown into something profoundly chilling. I set it up in the living room, my heart racing as I prepared to unveil the truth. "This is a signal I've recorded," I announced, my fingers trembling slightly as I pressed play. The air crackled with tension as the familiar static filled the room, each crackle sounding like 1,000 whispers weaving in and out of clarity. "What is this nonsense?" my father scoffed, but I ignored him, my focus sharp as I monitored the device. "Just listen." Then it came, a low, distorted voice cutting through the static, a word barely audible. "Help." It sent shivers through my spine, and I could feel the weight of my parents' skepticism begin to wane. Their laughter had turned to silence, the air compressing around us. I raised the volume, and with it, the chilling language of the dead became clearer, more desperate. "Help, before it takes you." The words echoed like a death knell, shaking the very foundation of our reality. The atmosphere shifted, the temperature in the room plummeting. Shadows flickered unnaturally across the walls, dark tendrils creeping into the corners of the room. My parents huddled closer together, their faces paling as they glanced at each other with dawning horror. "Delia, stop this!" my mother pleaded, but her voice quivered, betraying her fear. Then, the static took on a life of its own, swirling like a storm around us, revealing disembodied faces. Twisted and contorted in mute screams, the heaviness suffocated as the voices grew louder, drowning out our thoughts. "It's coming for you," they chanted, their sorrow palpable. My heart thundered against my ribcage. "Do you hear that? It's real! I told you!" I shouted, urgency lacing my words as the spectral visions danced around us. In that moment, my parents' disbelief shattered like glass underfoot. Their expressions morphed from sneers to terror as the true cost of their ridicule became excruciatingly clear. The weight of the shadows pressed around them, wrapping tighter and tighter. My father fell to his knees, clutching his head as the cacophony of tortured souls filled the ring. "Please, Delia, make it stop," he begged, and I could see the pride of his arrogance evaporate in an instant. The realization hit me, as satisfying and horrifying as a double-edged sword. They had mocked my journey, but now they stood on the precipice of a horror far beyond their comprehension. They were facing the consequences of their disbelief, a truth born from pain, rejection, and the darkness I had dared to embrace. As I turned to leave, whispers of the dead tugged at my consciousness, urging me onward. "Remember us," they called. I glanced back at my parents, tears streaming down my mother's cheeks, her pleas swallowed by despair. I knew I would carry the burden of this encounter forever, a haunting reminder of what had been lost and what I had become. As I stepped out into the freezing night, I felt the shadows release their grip, but I could sense their lingering presence, a crown of darkness I'd have earned. The house behind me trembled with the echoes of a family torn apart by ignorance, and I understood deep down in the marrow of my bones that some truths are meant to consume those who dismiss them. And as I walked away, I knew I was no longer just Delia, the girl who chased whispers. I was the Whisper Eater, and I would carry the weight of my knowledge into the night, a living testament to the horrors we refuse to acknowledge.